Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll get started in just a second here. All right. Looks like everybody has joined. Thanks again for joining today. Hope everybody's enjoying the warming weather here while they have the opportunity to. Go ahead and jump in. Today we're going to talk about job-specific training programs, outcomes, the monthly report, and your work plan. So we want to provide an update on some changes that we've made to the work plan and monthly reports to better capture your job-specific training programs and other outcomes. Those changes are in part being made to align with the CEJA reporting system. So we'll talk about what changed there as well. We would like to start getting your feedback on how these changes will impact your operations as well. I'll do the main presenting, but we are also joined as always by Larry and Michelle, your Northern and Southern Regional Administrators. And a quick agenda for the program today. I'll talk a little bit about the changes we've made around job-specific training programs and outcomes, and then we'll take your feedback and questions about these changes. Then, of course, this is your office hours session. So if you have questions about other topics related to CEJA, feel free to ask them in the chat or come off mute when we get there to ask your questions live. Okay, so some of the background on some of the changes that we're making to the job-specific program names. As you know, we have a monthly program reports that compile. Well, I guess you probably don't know that internally we have some monthly program reports that compile the data for all the grantees under a program into one big report. So we have a Workforce Hubs monthly report that sums up the metrics from all the grantees into one large statewide Workforce Hubs monthly report. Well, we were having difficulty with the programs being numbered instead of named. So we were gathering numbers into columns labeled Job Specific Training Program 1, Job Specific Training Program 2, and so on. Well, a person who had HVAC or grantee, I guess, who had an HVAC program and a solar training program might report HVAC as training program 1 and solar as training program 2. But somebody who had an energy auditing and an EV tech and a solar program might report energy auditing as 1, EV tech as 2, and solar as 3. So it kind of became a mess. We also had a few grantees with multiple tracks under the same industry, reporting the two tracks as essentially different industries. And so that created uh, a challenge, trying to get an accurate picture of how many people are in each industry and in each program. And so we're making changes to align across the work plan, the monthly report, and the CEJA reporting system. And we hope these changes will go a long way to helping you to align the data that you're reporting in the system and the monthly report. We're also making changes to the work plan monthly report and reporting system to incorporate some info about entrepreneurial programs. We're really striving to be intentional in our rollout of the programs in the CEJA ecosystem. And so this will represent our effort to connect the CEJA workforce training programs to our contractor support programs. And the idea that progressing from the workforce training program into a contractor support program is actually a positive outcome for the growth of the CEJA ecosystem. Of course, We want people to get trained in a skill in clean energy and then open or expand a business utilizing those newly acquired skills. So for right now, the transition into CEJA contractor program is a primary outcome, while the transition into a non-CEJA contractor or entrepreneurial program is a secondary outcome. So development of that new
It should be open. Wait a minute.
So development of that new set of transition outcomes is ongoing and should roll out very soon. But just know that this is how that's going to work. You'll enter entrepreneurial outcomes, both CEJA and non-CEJA, as transition outcomes. So we've added rows to the monthly reports for Climate Works and Workforce Hubs to capture these outcomes. And we'll also be adding rows to the monthly report for navigators to capture referrals to these entrepreneurial programs by CEJA Navigator grantees. And don't worry, I am going to walk through the monthly reports and the work plans here at the end so you can see how all this looks. I briefly mentioned a few of these changes in the CEJA reporting system, but just to review everything we're changing there, we're working on adding manufacturing as a job-specific training program option, as well as a training service to which you can assign participants. We have a number of grantees with manufacturing training programs that have partnered with clean energy employers for placements. We previously didn't really have a way to differentiate, for example, an EV program from an EV manufacturing program, and now we can do that. Clean energy programs and manufacturing will have their own lines in the plan versus actual report. We'll likely be adding a row for fleet training as part of DCEO's award under the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant through US EPA, so stay tuned for that. But for now, that is on pause. So when you establish the manufacturing training program and then assign students to complete that training service, and then they do complete that training, they will show up on the plan versus actual report for your grant on the row for manufacturing. To the extent we need to further differentiate between different kinds of manufacturing or different kinds of solar or different kinds of efficiency or other training, we'll use the cohorts to describe the different kinds of programs within each industry. So for example, let's say you have a solar sales as well as a solar PV install program. Both would be set up as solar PV training programs in the CEJA reporting system and assigned the solar PV training service. But you'd assign students to different cohorts by describing the cohorts differently depending on the subject matter. So you'd have something like a solar PV install cohort 1 and a solar sales cohort 1. As students complete the training associated with solar PV training service, we'd again be able to differentiate between the programs by the credentials being awarded. Solar PV install cohort 1 might receive the NABCEP PV Associate, while solar sales cohort 1 might receive the NABCEP Solar Sales Certificate. Both credentials will be associated with the provider teaching the solar PV training program or service, and staff at that program would simply select the credential that corresponds to the specific cohort under the umbrella solar PV training program. Then, as I mentioned, we're adding those entrepreneurial outcomes to the system, and you may have already noticed the addition of the different completion scenarios to the bottom of the plan versus actual report in the system. So that tracks with some TA we've previously provided about the different ways that a student can be completed in the system. We're also adding those completion scenarios to the bottom of the monthly report template for the Workforce Hubs and the Climate Works, along with everything else that you see on the screen here. Really, these are all the same basic changes that we're making or have made in the system, and we're just catching up to those. We're renaming all the job-specific programs to correspond to the actual industry trainings offered by the programs, and this is specific to the Workforce Hubs program only. So instead of job-specific training 1, job-specific training 2, it's building and construction inspectors training, energy auditor training, HVAC installer and technician training, and so on. Those are listed in the same order here as they are in the CEJA reporting system. Same thing with the job-specific program tabs on your monthly report, those are renamed and placed in the proper order. We're adding the entrepreneurial transition outcomes to the Hubs and ClimateWorks monthly reports. And finally, we're adding rows for reporting referrals to the CEJA Multicultural Jobs Program, Solar Pipeline Training Program, as well as the contractor programs, both CEJA and non-CEJA. And that's for the ET Navigator program. Some of this makes its way to the updated work plans, and some doesn't. We don't expect any of you to estimate how many people you'll refer out of CEJA, and only the navigators should plan to estimate how many people they'll refer to the CEJA and FEJA programs, the contractor programs, I'm sorry. We want to ensure people end up enrolling in or being placed in programs that are going to get them what they need to be successful, but we don't expect you to anticipate how many people will come to you and not be a good fit for CEJA, for example, or people who decide halfway through your program that they want to proceed on to entrepreneurial training. Since navigators have a role in recruiting for the CEJA contractor and FEJA workforce programs, it does make sense for you all to think through some of this on the front end to provide some idea of how many people you'll recruit for those programs, but maybe doesn't make as much sense for the Hubs and ClimateWorks programs. So just to walk through these changes, on the project summary tab, we've expanded those tabs for the Hubs and the navigators. We've added a box for every clean energy industry included as part of CEJA, and you'll only have numbers in the boxes for the programs you're actually running. On the activities and outcomes tab, similarly, we're adding rows for all of those same clean energy industries. And like I mentioned with the navigators on their activities and outcomes tabs, you'll note the additional rows for referrals to CEJA contractor programs and FEJA workforce programs. Just a couple other notes after having worked with some grantees in this area. Grantees should work internally to set up work experience or WEX in the system as a training service. On the job training, by contrast, is a transition outcome. So a training service is something that will have a start and end date, and the participant will need to complete that service in order to transition out of the program to complete and exit statuses. On the job training, on the other hand, is a job placement outcome with the assumption that when the OJT is complete, the student will transition to full-time employment. So we're working on a method to signify which of your job placements started as OJTs, so be on the lookout for an additional question or case note option in the job placement transition outcome modal. Okay, and here I would like to just show you what these changes look like on all these templates. So let me pull this up and share with you. Let's try again. Okay. So this is the monthly report template for the workforce hubs. So scroll all the way over here. So you've probably already noticed the expansion of the outreach events and the different types of partners. And so that corresponds to some of the recent changes we've made to the to how outreach is captured and partners. And then as we get down in here to the service delivery, you'll note here that we've got boxes for completers in these 8 different clean energy industries. And so again, having added manufacturing here for clean energy programs in manufacturing. So manufacturing programs where you've partnered with a clean energy employer and are placing people with manufacturing skills with those clean energy employers. Then as we scroll down to the bottom, we have placements with our CEJA contractor programs and placements with our non-CEJA contractor programs. And then we have those other completion scenarios so that corresponds to training we've provided previously about folks who get hired at various points during the program. Okay, the next one I wanted to show you is the navigators. So again, starting at the top with all the expanded outreach and partner elements. Then as we get down into here, now you'll see that we have referrals for the other CEJA programs like the Contractor Incubator Program, referrals for other workforce programs not listed above. So maybe these are non-CEJA workforce programs, referrals for other entrepreneurial programs not listed above. I think that was all we had on that one. On the Climate Works monthly report, not as many additions here. This all looks the same. But then as we get down to the outcomes, we'll see again where is it? There it is. The placements for CEJA and non-CEJA contractor programs. Then on the Workforce Hub work plan, the project summary tab here has been expanded, so now we're capturing all of the training programs here, the different industries for the training programs here, so the addition of manufacturing. And then down here, we are capturing, of course, the placements into clean energy, advanced training, and RAPs and construction building trades. Then over here on the activities and outcomes, of course, this will correspond to the changes that we just showed you. So we've got completers in all 8 of the industries. And we have the outcomes down here as well. And then finally, wanted to show you the similar changes for the navigators. So we've got placements, referrals for Contractor Incubator, Primes Contractor Accelerator, and then the FEJA programs. And that will walk over to here. So now we've got referrals for Contractor Incubator, Accelerator, FEJA Multicultural, and Solar Pipeline. And now I'll hop back over to the slides. All right. And so with that, what questions do we have about this? What questions do we have about any other CEJA topics? Feel free to type in the chat or come off mute and ask your questions live.
Nathan, this is Julie.
Sure.
I have a question about, this is the spreadsheet that you're showing for the planning, and then when is this going to align and change in WorkNet itself? Because we'll have to go in and update our numbers if I'm right.
Yeah, so I don't know if we have an estimate yet, but we are working on getting those changes rolled out. Yeah.
And then it'll align that way. And we'll have to go in and change that, right? There's not going to be any way that any of that's going to happen automatically.
Which things?
Getting the numbers, some of it is just renaming. So where you've renamed, are the numbers that we have entered in the system going to remain under that new name, or will we need to go in and redo the entire plan in WorkNet?
So in WorkNet right now, the training program names are already in there.
Okay.
And so this should then help it. The training program names are really just to help us kind of sort through like, what's being reported, because we had people reporting like for example, two different EV programs and
Right,
different
right.
programs. So once we get that updated, then they should align. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep, yep. But definitely keep in touch with us and your RA if things start getting wonkier, I guess. What else we got?
Hey Nate, this is Trisha.
Hey, Trisha.
Um, I am, it's not a question, but more of a statement.
Okay.
I've seen some potential concerns as it relates to discrepancies in reporting, how we're tracking things versus how the reporting tool is tracking things. I got a long email that I started to draft to you and just realized I never pressed send on. So I'm going to
Okay.
send it to you now. And then if you want to talk about it, I know we're not scheduled till next week, but if you want to talk about it before then, that's fine. And if you want to wait till next week, that's fine. But I think that there is a potential for the navigators anyway, data integrity discrepancy.
Okay. We'll check it out.
Mm, okay.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything about this or any other CEJA topics? Feel free to holler them out. And then I think, as it relates to um, the discrepancies or like updating numbers, I think just like a general note is that, your work plan, the work plan that you agree to with your RA and the DCEO team, that is really kind of the guiding light. And so if these changes cause you to have a different understanding of some of those numbers or cause you to kind of take a step back and say, oh, well, hang on a second. Now that I understand that, maybe we need to change things. We can, for sure. Just make sure we stay in communication with your RA about that. And then, these changes are being made to better align all of those numbers so that they make sense. Because obviously, you know, I think we're all kind of involved in ongoing discussions to try to align our monthly reports with what's in the system. And so, this is definitely part of that effort. And so we're hoping for better alignment out of this. So, yeah, definitely just, let us know if things are starting to go the other direction on that. All right. Well, keep thinking of those questions if you have any. Got a couple more slides here and get through those and definitely keep the line open if you have questions for us. So wanted to announce that the Northern Region CEJA Roundtable is confirmed for March 11th of this year from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will be held at the Hire 360 headquarters at 2540 South State Street in Chicago. Northern Region grantees are encouraged to attend, especially folks engaging with employers. And Larry has placed the registration link in the chat. So please register if you are able, especially if you're a Northern Region CEJA grantee and you work with employers. Want to send out another reminder that the Illinois Workforce Summit is scheduled for May 7th and 8th at the Embassy Suites in East Peoria. CEJA grantees are encouraged to attend. Check your travel budget before registering. Virtual options are available, but in-person attendance will include more presentations as well as networking opportunities. And also wanted to mention that we are updating the Clean Jobs curriculum framework, and we will plan to have a future TA session about those changes. And we are trying to get, taking feedback and taking some lessons learned from the first year of operation of the CEJA grants and trying to update the curriculum framework to kind of better align with the on-ground reality. Couple of reminders for monitoring as we're ramping up the monitoring season. Um, as we've talked about before, some folks are going to have a formal compliance monitoring event this spring. Others will have a TA, technical assistance review. But we will be talking to all the grantees this spring, in one form or another. And so, as we're kind of ramping up that activity, a couple of things we're noticing is that we're wanting to send a reminder about is to remember to upload signed acceptance and commitment agreement letters for all Hub and Climate Works participants. Keep documentation of eligibility for all participants, and we do have that guidance on the partner guide in both the videos. We did a TA session on eligibility documentation back in August, and then in your partner guide manual, we have the eligibility documentation guidance. We haven't rolled out official documentation guidance for barrier reductions and stipends yet, so just a couple of general notes on that. Follow your procurement policy for purchases, keep invoices and receipts, and make sure that participants who receive stipends and barrier reduction services that they are signing off that they acknowledge that they received those benefits. And that's all we have for today. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to come off mute or type them in the chat. And as always, we are on the line to help. And there's our contact information, our emails for Larry, Michelle, and myself. What are we thinking out there in CEJA land?
Hi, Nate. Thank you for this presentation. This is Pamela Felder-Small representing the Imani Works Green Grace Initiative. This is my first time participating. I wanted to know, will this video be available for future reference?
Yes, it will. And let me, I will post a couple of links here. I realized as I was talking about the documentation guidance, that probably be a good idea to post a link to that as well. So I will post a link to the videos. So here in the chat, I'm posting a link to where we will store where we store the recordings of our TA sessions. That's the first link. Second link, I will link directly to the documentation guidance video. And then I will link to the eligibility documentation in the partner guide. Okay. So that first link there is where you'll find all of the TA sessions. So you can even find sessions going back like a year and a half or so. And that's where this one will be posted. And actually you see the holding spot for that at the top of the page. And then that will be the link that'll be linked at the bottom of the page.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Sure. What else can we help with? Alrighty. Well, we don't have any questions here. Feel free to reach out to your RA or grant manager, and we will be happy to get together the brain trust to figure out an answer. Otherwise, our next session looks like it is scheduled for March 3rd, and we will talk to you then. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Nate.
It looks like someone in the chat said that they can't open the final link on the eligibility documentation guidance.
So
Let
that
me
is
try myself.
it's a Word doc. It does link directly to a Word doc. So that might be the issue. I will link.
For me, it just downloaded.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then it opens. So look in your downloads and see if it'll pop up there, but it will kind of have that blank screen for internet.
And if that doesn't work, we can email it to you. If you put your email in the chat. Yeah, you may
Cannot
have
unmute.
it may be a setting on your browser or something. And I will, okay, government. Yeah. Okay. Sheet with the government. Okay. Yeah, I'll just email you directly.
Yeah.
Larry, if you're talking, we cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you're good
Yeah.
to go.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I could get it to her too, Nate, if you like.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
You got her email?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, perfect. And then Martha, I do see your message, and I will give you a call here momentarily. All right. Thanks, y'all.
All right, have a good day.